When my family was celebrating the birthday of Victoria, the fake heiress, on a luxury cruise ship, we encountered a rare storm. As a giant wave crashed, Dad was the first to rush over and shield Victoria on the deck with his body. In a panic, Mom hugged Victoria's pet cat tightly and evacuated with the lifeboat. They left the area on the earliest helicopter, posting over a dozen updates celebrating the safety of the whole family. Not a single one of them remembered me, the biological daughter they only acknowledged at 16, seasick and staying in my cabin in the lower deck, uninformed. When I desperately smashed open the cabin door, jammed due to the ship's deformation, and struggled onto the deck, I only saw the silhouette of the helicopter disappearing into the distance. Later, I accepted an invitation from an overseas research institute and decided to settle there permanently. As they had repeatedly requested, I would no longer childishly compare myself to Victoria, nor would I crave the familial love I never truly possessed. But they panicked. "Alara, why don't you fight with Victoria for Mom and Dad anymore?" 7 days later, when I was rescued from a piece of floating wreckage by an international rescue team, and finally returned to that familiar villa, a grand celebratory banquet was in full swing. It was to celebrate Victoria's miraculous survival from the shipwreck and her acceptance to a top music conservatory. Mom and Dad were embracing Victoria and chatting happily with guests, their faces filled with relief and pride. My appearance shattered their joy. Mom was the first to see me, her smile freezing on her face. Dad followed her gaze, his brow furrowing instinctively. Victoria, nestled against Dad's side, looked at me with a subtle hint of smugness and provocation. "Alara?" Mom put down her wine glass and quickly walked over, wanting to hug me, her voice trembling uncertainly. You're all right? How did you?" I slightly turned away, avoiding her embrace. How much I had once craved this hug, but now I only felt as if the icy seawater was still seeping into my bones. "Thank you for your concern, I'm fine." My voice was hoarse from dehydration and weakness. Mom's outstretched arms hung awkwardly in the air. Victoria immediately spoke in a tearful voice. "Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. If it wasn't to protect me, you would have remembered that Sister was still in the cabin. Sister, scold me, hit me if you want. Don't come back on such a happy day to embarrass Mom and Dad. It's all my fault." Her words, like a key, instantly unlocked the floodgates of Dad's emotions. The little guilt on his face was replaced by annoyance. "Alara, did you intentionally pick today to come back? Are you deliberately trying to make our Lynn family a laughingstock? Are you just jealous that Victoria is doing well? That our whole family is happy? Why is your heart so dark?" I looked at him. This was actually my biological father. I floated at sea for 7 days, surviving on a little bit of pitiful rainwater, and the supplies the rescue team occasionally dropped. The cold of the nights, the exposure of the days, the fear of the unknown, almost drove me insane. In my most desperate moment, I used the last bit of battery on my phone to leave a message, only to see their overwhelming posts on social media. "Thank God Victoria is safe and sound. Our baby is all right." The accompanying picture was the three of them embracing tightly. "A narrow escape from death brings future fortune. Cheers to Victoria's acceptance letter." The accompanying picture was champagne and smiles. A family of 3, plus a cat, sunny and warm, incredibly harmonious. And I, struggling on the verge of life and death, was like a completely forgotten bubble in their joyful celebration. In his mouth, it had become intentional, deliberate. I suddenly didn't even have the strength to explain, and just wanted to leave this suffocating place. I turned to go back to the room on the second floor that belonged to me, but was more like a guest room. Behind me was Victoria's hypocritical consolation. "Dad, don't be angry, Sister might just be unlucky, not able to get on the lifeboat in time. She's resentful. We need to understand her." Dad snorted coldly. "Understand? I think her true nature is hard to change. She'll never be as sensible and considerate as our Victoria." My footsteps paused, my heart feeling as if it had been pierced by a sharp blade. In this family, I was always the one being compared, the one being belittled. I should have realized it long ago, shouldn't I? I returned to the room, locked the door, and called my research supervisor. "Professor, I accept the offer. I'll leave in a week, and settle there permanently." The next morning, Mom knocked on my door, her tone carrying a hint of fatigue and resentment. "Alara, you were too inconsiderate last night. Your father was in a fit of anger. Couldn't you have just endured it? Why did you have to do that in front of so many guests? You've disappointed me too much." Her words stopped abruptly, her gaze fixed on the clothes I had taken off and placed on the bedside table. The originally beige dress was now almost covered in dark brown bloodstains, dirt and tears, and the hem had even been ripped by something sharp, leaving a long gash. The lighting was dim last night, so she probably didn't notice. But now, in the morning light, these shocking marks silently told the story of what I had experienced in the past few days. Dad came over at the sound of her voice. When he saw the dress, his lips moved slightly, and his face turned pale. "Alara. Dad didn't notice last night. You." I looked at them. "I need to change, please leave." They were always like this. If Victoria grazed her finger red while practicing the piano, they would act as if it was a major crisis, finding the best doctors and ointments. As for me, when I broke my arm in my adoptive parents' home, the bones were misaligned, but they just thought I was faking it to attract attention, even mocking and sneering at me. It wasn't that they weren't attentive, but that attentiveness was never used on me. Noticing my coldness, a flicker of panic, something like worry flashed in Mom and Dad's eyes for the first time. In the past, I would always try to find topics to talk about, clumsily trying to please them, trying to fit in. Their gazes subconsciously went to the vase of fresh lilies that I changed every day in the living room. It was a small ritualistic gesture, carefully maintained, to find a bit of warmth in this home when I first came back. Dad hurriedly spoke, with a deliberate attempt to soften his tone. "Alara, haven't you changed the lilies today? Dad will take you to the flower market, to pick out your favorites, okay?" "No need." Changing the flowers used to be a reminder to myself that I might still be able to find a sliver of warmth in this family. Now it was no longer needed. I didn't need their pity, and even less did I need their charity case love. 3 days later was Victoria's solo recital, and also my birthday. 17 years ago today, she and I were born in the same hospital, switched at birth due to the nurse's negligence. From then on, our fates diverged. Mom was excitedly preparing for the celebration banquet after the recital. The huge cake had "Congratulations to Miss Victoria" on her successful solo recital written on it, with not a single word related to me. Confetti flew, applause thundered. Dad presented Victoria with a bouquet of lilies symbolizing musical genius, saying excitedly, "Proud of our little musician Victoria, grateful to fate for bringing her into our lives." Mom wiped away tears of joy at the side. "Yes, Victoria is the best gift God has given us." I clenched my fists. The twist of fate that I loathed, the origin of my tragedy, was actually a divine blessing that they were endlessly grateful for. I scanned the surrounding servants, busy flattering. They had, both overtly and covertly, reminded me when I first came back. "Miss Victoria is the apple of the master and mistress's eye. Know your place, don't make Miss Victoria unhappy." Now they were surrounding Victoria, their faces full of ingratiating smiles. Victoria, in the crowd, across the distance, cast a victorious look at me. Everyone was congratulating. "Congratulations, Miss Victoria." I didn't want to hear others receiving congratulations on my birthday. I turned to go back to my room, to take out the gift that I had prepared long ago in a plain box. If I didn't give it now, there would be no other chance in the future. When I returned to the banquet hall, Victoria was tearfully saying, "Dad, Mom, doesn't sister like my performance?" She didn't even want to applaud for me. Mom and Dad's faces darkened. Just as they were about to speak, I handed them 2 small wooden figurines, which I had personally carved and polished. I knew that Dad always kept a crude clay figure Victoria had made as a child on his desk, treasuring it like a precious gem. Mom's jewelry box was filled with her various creations, but none of them were from me. Mom and Dad were stunned when they saw the lifelike wood carvings, which clearly took a great deal of effort. Mom subconsciously reached out and took one, her fingertips caressing the grain of the wood. Dad examined it carefully, a complex expression flickering in his eyes, temporarily forgetting Victoria's grievances and asking me, "Alara, when did you learn this? It's really well done." I said, "I was bored, so I figured it out myself. Consider it a..." Birthday present. Your birthday? Dad asked instinctively. Immediately, he and Mom exchanged glances, a hint of embarrassment fleeting across their faces. Mom's smile was a little unnatural. Ha ha ha, Alara, you're so funny. Of course Mom and Dad remember your birthday is coming up soon. As she spoke, she hurriedly went to the pile of gifts on the side, rummaging for a moment before taking out a delicate velvet box and handing it to me. Look, Mom and Dad prepared it for you a long time ago. Open it and see if you like it. Inside the box was a diamond bracelet. But on the inside of the bracelet's clasp it was clearly engraved, "To our dearest Victoria." I didn't throw a fit on the spot like I used to, which made Mom even more panicked, and even Dad was looking at me nervously. Mom kept searching through the other gifts. Alara, you have to believe Mom. Mom really prepared one for you too. Both you sisters have one. As if to add credibility, she added, I bought them last month when I went to Europe to cheer Victoria on at her competition. They're exactly the same. Dad's face changed drastically, and he gently nudged her. Only then did Mom realize she had let something slip, her eyes filled with remorse and panic, afraid that I would make a scene like before. So last month the whole family went to Europe to cheer on Victoria's competition. No wonder no one answered when I called home that time. My heart was numb. It's okay, this one is fine. Thank you. Later, Mom and Dad sent a lot of expensive clothes and jewelry as compensation. I packed up these things, including the bracelet, and donated them to charity, labeling them as departure cleanup. At the same time, news began to report the aftermath of the rare storm. A search and rescue team released a drone video. In the video, a small, thin figure was lying alone on a narrow piece of debris, looking incredibly small and helpless on the sea. This video was widely circulated and attracted a lot of attention. Mom and Dad recognized that person as me at a glance. They watched the TV in silence for an entire evening. The next day, Mom and Dad booked the most expensive revolving restaurant in the city. Dad kept drinking glass after glass. He said he was a failed father, that he was sorry, and asked me to forgive him. I almost believed him, swayed by the redness in his eyes and his choked voice. Until the alcohol took effect, and they finally revealed their true purpose. Mom tentatively started. Alara, a lot of media outlets have been contacting our family lately, wanting to interview that girl at sea. You know Victoria, she has always wanted to develop in the music industry and needs exposure and a positive image. So we thought, maybe Victoria could represent our family in the interview. After all, you can't really see her face in the video. Seeing my face instantly turn cold, Mom hurriedly explained. Mom isn't being biased, I just feel like this opportunity would be more helpful for Victoria's career. Mom's love for you two sisters is the same. Same love. I really wanted to laugh out loud. Since I returned to this family, which item, was the same? Victoria suddenly knelt down in front of me, her acting skills superb. Sister, I know you've always disliked me, looked down on me for relying on the family, but this opportunity is really important to me. Please, sister. I coldly watched her perform. Okay, if you can reenact the scene when I first came home, when you made me crawl around the garden like a dog, calling me a hick while I crawled, I'll agree. You. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Alara, how can you be so vicious? She's your sister. I raised my eyes and looked directly at him. Vicious? That's how she treated me back then, and you said she was young, joking around, and told me not to dwell on it. How come it's not okay now that it's her? Mom and Dad were both speechless. Yes, at that time, they all said that Victoria was just being mischievous, without any malice, and told me to be more generous. I took a deep breath, venting the grievances that had accumulated for many years. Dad, do you remember when I had a fever of 39 degrees in my third year of high school, but you drove Victoria to the top of the mountain to see the meteor shower because she said she wanted to see one, leaving me alone at home, without anyone to even buy medicine for me? Mom, do you remember the first time I won an award in a school painting competition? And I was so happy to tell you, but you were abroad with Victoria attending some unimportant summer camp, and you didn't even answer the phone? I'm your biological daughter. Why? Why is Victoria the only one you see? If you don't love me, why did you bring me back? Wouldn't it have been better to let me fend for myself in my original place? My voice was already choked with emotion by the end. I thought I had cried all my tears out a long time ago. Mom and Dad's expressions underwent a dramatic change. And Mom even started to sob softly. I wiped my face, forcing a hideous smile. All right, as you wish. Give this opportunity to Victoria. Mom and Dad immediately looked up, a glimmer of hope flashing in their eyes. I continued. Just consider it repaying you for giving me life. From now on, we owe each other nothing. Dad was stunned. What do you mean? I said it very clearly. It means we're severing ties. You are no longer my parents, and I am no longer your daughter. There will be no further connection. Mom completely panicked. No, absolutely not. You're a piece of me. How can you? I was expressionless. Then she won't get the interview opportunity. Mom and Dad were silent, their eyes struggling. After a moment, Dad seemed to have made up his mind, gritting his teeth and saying, "Okay, I agree." At that moment, Victoria's gaze at me was filled with the triumphant arrogance of a victor. Look, my own parents, once again, unhesitatingly chose her between me and Victoria. Victoria, wearing clothes similar to my situation at the time provided by the rescue team, gave a vivid interview. She was hailed as a strong and optimistic sea disaster survivor, a talented musical girl, and received countless sympathies and praises. The management company took the opportunity to secure several high-end endorsements and performance opportunities for her. Mom and Dad probably thought I was just speaking out of anger that night, and began awkwardly trying to make amends. They deleted all the celebratory posts on their social media after the storm. They changed their social media profile pictures to a family photo they grudgingly agreed to take many years ago when I first returned. They also dragged me to take many sets of gorgeous family portraits, enlarged them, and hung them all over the living room and their bedrooms. They vowed again and again, promising never to be biased again, but I always responded calmly. They became more and more anxious every day. Finally, Dad decided to hold a grand recognition banquet to formally introduce me to everyone. This ceremony, which should have been held when I first returned, was delayed again and again for fear that Victoria would be sensitive and not adapt, until today, and I was just quietly packing my luggage to go abroad. The day before I left, after packing everything, I went to say goodbye to my only friend. On the television at her house, I happened to see a rebroadcast of a financial interview, and Dad was the guest. The host asked, "Mr. Lin, I heard that you have been very successful in educating your children, especially your daughter who has made great achievements in the field of music. Can you share your parenting insights?" Dad, with a proud smile on his face, talked eloquently. "Victoria is indeed a worry-free child. She is the sole heir to our Lin family, and all our resources and efforts will be poured into her. In the future, the Lin Group will also be handed over to her." Speaking of this, he suddenly stopped, his face changed slightly, as if he realized he had said the wrong thing. See, bias can't be hidden, even if reason wants to cover it up, their subconscious will betray them. So, my own daughter not only can't get love, but even the inheritance rights that legally belong to me have long been secretly promised to Victoria. Love and property, everything belongs to Victoria. I sneered and used my phone to record this passage and sent it to Dad. Half an hour later, as I was saying goodbye to my friend, Mom's phone calls came in frantically. "Alara, something bad happened. Your dad got into a fight with someone at the TV station. Go check the news." When I arrived, I saw Dad pulling and shoving the host backstage from the phone screens of the onlookers, completely losing his image. He roared angrily. "I said it was a slip of the tongue. Who told you to broadcast it? Does your TV station have any professional ethics? Do you know what serious consequences this will cause? Bastard." The bodyguards Mom brought with her finally managed to separate them. Dad panicked when he saw me. "Alara." Dad didn't mean it that way. Dad just said it offhand. "Don't take it seriously, okay? Alara. Believe Dad. Don't be angry. Don't leave us." I stood outside the crowd, watching his uncharacteristic disarray. Once upon a time, when Victoria framed me for breaking her expensive violin, I also begged him to believe me like this. But he never believed me, not once. Instead, He pointed at my nose and scolded. How could I have such a vicious daughter? I should have sent you away sooner. I nodded, stepped forward and supported him, who was a little unsteady on his feet. I understand, Dad, let's go back. I didn't cry, didn't complain, but Dad was even more terrified. He immediately moved the date of the recognition banquet forward to tomorrow. Alara, we'll hold the banquet tomorrow, and tell everyone that you are the real eldest miss of the Lin family. Giving me almost no chance to refuse, he immediately ordered people to prepare. Mom was also busy calling and notifying all the guests. And I, before dawn on the second day, went to the airport alone. I took one last look at the lights of this city. Goodbye. I wish your family of 3 eternal happiness. At 7 o'clock, my phone started vibrating wildly. I turned it off directly, took out the SIM card, snapped it in half, and threw it into the airport trash can. More than 10 hours later, the plane landed. The head of the research institute, also my mentor, came to pick me up in person. She was my university professor, and after learning of my situation by chance, she felt extremely sorry for me. She and her husband were both top scholars, doing research at overseas bases year-round, and without children, they almost treated me like their own daughter, cultivating and doting on me. She knew that neither my adoptive parents' home, nor my biological parents' home could give me warmth. I changed all my contact information, and followed my mentor into a secluded polar observation station. The signal here was extremely poor, with only an old radio that could occasionally receive outside information. On the radio, a missing person notice came intermittently. Famous entrepreneur Mr. Lin and his wife, their voices choked with sobs, apologized to their biological daughter through various radio stations. Alara, Mom and Dad were wrong, come back, the outside world is complicated. How can we rest assured when you're alone? Child, Mom was wrong. Mom will definitely treat you fairly and listen to you carefully from now on. Some invited guests also earnestly advised on the program. There are no wrong parents in the world, child. Your parents have already begged you so humbly. What lingering doubts can't be resolved? The kindness of parents in raising you is greater than heaven. Running away like this is too selfish and too unfilial. The already somewhat famous musical prodigy Victoria also took the opportunity to speak. Sister Alara, I know you blame me from now on. Anything I have, as long as you like it, I'll give it to you, just please come back. At home, you always said that your adoptive parents treated you better, which hurt Mom and Dad's feelings. Now, are you going to abandon your biological parents just because of a slip of the tongue from Dad? Don't be capricious, sister. Come home. I clenched my fists. When I was first recognized, Mom and Dad still had some initial pity for me. Seeing the frostbite and scars on my body from doing rough work at my adoptive parents' house, their eyes also turned red, but Victoria constantly stirred things up, saying that I was deliberately trying to gain sympathy, saying that although my adoptive parents were poor, they treated me very well. She even used some unknown method to get my adoptive parents to come forward and testify that I was spoiled and liked to lie since I was a child. For a time, I couldn't defend myself. And so Mom and Dad's misunderstandings deepened day by day. In the research station, no one knew that the person mentioned on the radio was me. Some colleagues who heard it casually commented, "TSK, this daughter is too heartless. Her parents are already like this. She probably thinks the family didn't give her enough money, right? What's the point of finding a white-eyed wolf like that?" I lowered my head, habitually not wanting to argue. In the past, every time I argued at home, it resulted in deeper misunderstandings and accusations. My mentor came over with hot coffee, heard the discussion, her face darkened, and she tapped each of them with the file in her hand. "What nonsense are you talking about? The person they're looking for on the radio is your junior sister." Everyone's eyes instantly focused on me, and I subconsciously wanted to retreat. But then I heard what they said. "What? It's junior sister. There must be a reason why junior sister doesn't want to go back. This family must have problems. We've been with junior sister for this period of time. Don't we know what she's like? Kind and resilient." That Victoria's tone is sarcastic. She's obviously not a good person. What kind of guests did the radio station invite? Just standing there talking without backache. "Junior sister, don't pay attention to them. No one here can force you." That's right. What rubbish. daring to say that about our junior sister. Junior sister, don't be afraid, we've got your back. Tears fell unexpectedly. For the first time in 20 years, someone had stood by my side without hesitation. The environment in the Arctic was harsh and the wind was bitterly cold, but the hearts here were warm. The missing person notice continued to play on the radio for a month. Later, my senior brothers and sisters simply turned off the radio to avoid affecting my mood. I thought this peace would continue, but unexpectedly, half a year later, Mom and Dad still managed to find this place. They were wearing heavy winter clothes, carrying large bags of supplies, and cried the moment they saw me. Child, how can you be in a place like this? Suffering. Come back with Mom and Dad, okay? Alara, you changed all your contact information. Mom and Dad searched so hard. We relied on so many connections to find this place. Come home with us. I took a step back, creating distance. Mr. Lynn, Mrs. Lynn, we have severed ties. Need I remind you that Miss Victoria is now a rising star musician, and your promise should be fulfilled? Mom and Dad's eyes reddened, and they tried to explain incoherently. My mentor strode over and shielded me behind her. You still have the nerve to come. Haven't you hurt her enough? I grabbed my mentor's arm tightly and whispered, Mom. Months ago, in the presence of all the researchers, I had formally recognized my mentor and her husband as my godmother and godfather. Mom's tears instantly welled up, and the next second she wanted to grab me like a madwoman. Alara, I'm your mother. Look at Mom. You used to say you loved Mom the most. Dad also panicked. Alara, don't be so cruel to Mom and Dad. I shook off their hands, my tone weary. Mr. Lynn, Mrs. Lynn, your daughter is Victoria. Please don't mistake her. They froze on the spot, finally clearly realizing. That daughter who used to carefully watch their faces every day, trying to please them. That daughter who would secretly pour water for them and prepare small gifts after being scolded. That daughter who would shine as long as they gave her a little sunshine, no matter how many times she was hurt. Was really lost by them. Dad swayed, his voice dry. Alara, it doesn't matter if you don't recognize us. Go see your adoptive parents. Victoria said they're old and in poor health, and they've been missing you. I exchanged glances with my mentor. She understood my decision and nodded. Go ahead, settle what needs to be settled. We're waiting for you to come back here at any time. Okay. I followed my parents back to China. It was time to completely clear the slander that had been forcibly pinned on me all these years. On the plane, they thought I was soft-hearted and worried about my adoptive parents, and kept talking about how much my adoptive parents missed me and how regretful they were, trying to use family ties to kidnap me into staying. Alara, your adoptive parents are uneducated and have no money. All they know is to go to the village entrance to wait for you every day. Every time Victoria goes to see them, she comes back crying in heartache. Look, you ran away. How cruel is that to them? Too inconsiderate. But now that you're willing to come back with Mom and Dad, it means you're still sensible. You've grown up. I put on my headphones to block out their voices. After the plane landed, they were eager to contact my adoptive parents, but I stopped them. I directly rented a car and drove all the way back to that remote mountain village. On the way, I glanced at my phone, and the accusations of being unfilial and a white-eyed wolf on the internet were raging again because of my appearance. Mixed with the video of my adoptive parents calling me home affectionately, public opinion was almost unanimously criticizing me. My adoptive mother, when she saw me, was completely different from the kind-looking person in the video. She put her hands on her hips, spat on the ground, and picked up the broom at the door to hit me. Jinx, you still know how to come back. Get out. Get out. Mom and Dad stood beside me, stunned by this sudden turn of events. Dad subconsciously stopped her. What are you doing hitting people? My adoptive mother didn't recognize Mom and Dad, who were dressed luxuriously, and thought they were city friends I had brought back, and became even more arrogant. Old hag, I'm beating my own maid, what's it to you? Get out of here. She pointed at my nose and cursed. Humph. I've been beating her since she was little, so what? Now she's grown, and she's brought people back to back her up? Let me tell you, it's useless. This was completely different from the warm and loving home Victoria had described to them, although impoverished. Mom and Dad's eyes shifted between me and my adoptive mother, filled with doubt. I understood they still believed Victoria more. Seeing that Mom and Dad didn't dare do anything to her, my adoptive mother became even more unscrupulous, spewing out vulgarities nonstop. At this moment, a neighbor auntie rushed in and shielded me behind her. Nuan Yato, why are you back? Go. You finally escaped the fire pit, don't come back. My adoptive mother cursed. You old hag, mind your own business. The neighbor auntie sneered. Who in the village doesn't know about your family? The man gambles away money and drinks, then comes back and beats the children to vent his anger. The woman is even crueler, making the children wash the whole family's clothes with cold water in the winter. Their hands are frozen raw and she doesn't even give them a thick coat. I secretly give her a roasted sweet potato, and you can twist the child's arm black and blue. Dad's fists clenched tightly, his eyes bloodshot. Mom looked at me in disbelief, abruptly pulling up my sleeves, revealing the old, twisted, bruised scars. I used to cry and complain to them, but they would say, "You're so young and already trying to hurt yourself and frame people. Who taught you to be so base?" My adoptive mother yelled. She's not my own daughter. I've been more than kind just by not throwing her away. The neighbor auntie continued to expose her. Bah, who doesn't know that you, Brenda, saw that the Lin family was rich back then, and deliberately swapped your daughter with theirs. You wanted your daughter to enjoy the good life. Your heart is rotten to the core. Dad's voice trembled as he asked, "What you're saying? Is it all true?" Of course it's true. Ask anyone in the village, who doesn't pity Nwanyato? We were all happy when we heard she found her real parents. She finally got away from your black-hearted family. The color drained from Mom and Dad's faces instantly, engulfed by immense guilt and regret. They couldn't imagine what kind of life I had lived for those dozen years, and they had never truly believed me, even siding with the abuser time and time again. Dad couldn't bear it any longer, picking up a wooden stick from the corner of the wall, trembling all over as he beat my adoptive mother. "Beast, is this how you treated my daughter? I'll beat you to death." My adoptive mother screamed, but she was still defiant. "You dare hit me? My daughter is Victoria, the Lin family's eldest daughter. My daughter said that this bitch is nothing in the Lin family. My daughter is the real one. If you dare touch me, my daughter won't spare you." Dad took off his sunglasses, and my adoptive mother was instantly dumbfounded. "Call the police." The adoptive parents were guilty of abuse, abandonment, and suspected infant swapping. Accumulation of crimes. What awaited them was the severe punishment of the law. At the sentencing, they learned that the person in front of them was the president of the Lin group. They were so frightened that they collapsed to the ground, crawling to Dad's feet. Mr. Lin, Mr. Lin, have mercy. For the sake of us raising Alara." Then crawling to me to kowtow. "Alara. Alara, we were wrong. We were blinded by greed back then." No one paid any attention to them. Mom even rushed forward and kicked my adoptive mother a few times. On the way back, Mom and Dad finally understood how terribly wrong they had been in the past. They wanted to apologize, but the words choked in their throats. The damage had been done, and words seemed incredibly pale at this moment. Victoria learned that we had gone to my adoptive mother's house, and didn't care about the sentencing of my adoptive parents. Her first reaction was anxiety. "Dad, Mom, did they say anything they shouldn't have?" She was afraid that my adoptive mother would expose her lies. Dad laughed angrily and clapped loudly. "Good. Wonderful. Truly your dear mother's good daughter. Only thinking of yourself at a crucial moment. I was blind. For something like you, I hurt my own daughter again and again. Get out. Get out of the Lin family." Victoria looked at Mom for help. "Mom, what's wrong with Dad? I don't understand." She thought Mom would protect her as before, but Mom just looked at her coldly and raised her hand to give her a hard slap. "Victoria, what did the Lin family ever do to you? How can your heart be so vicious? You had to frame Alara." Victoria fell to the ground, finally understanding that everything was exposed. She cried and begged for forgiveness. "Mom, I'm sorry, I was too scared. I was afraid that if Alara came back, you wouldn't want me anymore. I have nothing, only you. Alara is your own daughter connected by blood. But me. I'm really scared. Mom, please forgive me. Mom looked at her, her eyes cold. Was it really just fear? Victoria looked up. What? Dad suppressed his anger and slammed a stack of documents on her face. The sharp edges of the paper cut Victoria's carefully maintained cheeks, but Mom and Dad were unmoved. Victoria picked up the documents, her face turning pale instantly. They were evidence of her secretly transferring company funds and embezzling family money over the years, taking advantage of Mom and Dad's trust and love. The amount was huge. Mom and Dad had noticed it a long time ago, but they always thought she was just young and didn't understand, spending money lavishly, silently covering the deficit without making a fuss. Only now did they understand that this wasn't ignorance, but greed and calculation. Mom and Dad submitted this evidence to the police and lawyers. At the same time, they used the Lin Group's official account to publish a long statement, publicly apologizing to me, and detailing how Victoria had used my experiences for hype and created a false persona. A stone stirred up 1,000 waves. Oh my God! Victoria is actually this kind of person. So disgusting. She was pretending to have a deep sisterly bond on the radio before, but it turns out she was constantly throwing dirt on her sister. I thought she looked fake, and sure enough, she collapsed. Ilara is too miserable. Her biological parents were blind, protecting such a thing. Bah. Ilara, run away from this family. Never come back. Later, Victoria was arrested for embezzlement and other crimes, and her reputation was ruined. I returned to the Polar Observation Station to continue my research. Mom and Dad sold their assets and started looking for me all over the world, their footprints covering every corner, but they were always one step behind. Every week, there was a fixed channel on the radio that broadcasted information about finding me. The colleagues at the station would tacitly turn off the radio at that time. The last time I heard the missing person information, I was in deep self-doubt because of a series of failures in an experimental data. The colleagues didn't blame me, but constantly encouraged me, which made me feel even more incompetent. Am I not suitable for the path of scientific research at all? On a whim, I turned on the old radio. On the radio, my parents' voices were old and tired. Ilara, Mom and Dad don't ask for your forgiveness. We just hope that in a place without us, you can be happy. The past was all our fault. Don't deny yourself because of our mistakes. You are smart, kind, resilient, and independent. You deserve all the good things in the world. Take these things with you and pursue the life you want. Ilara, we won't look for you anymore after this. You must be happy. I was stunned. For a long time, because of the trauma in my childhood, I habitually belittled myself. When I encountered difficulties, the first thing I thought of was escape, always feeling that I was not good enough. But most of the time it wasn't my fault. I turned around and threw myself back into the experiment. This time, I finally succeeded. In the excitement, I hesitated whether to send my parents a message, even if it was just a thank you. Just then the phone, which hadn't had a signal for a long time, suddenly popped up with an emergency news push. Emergency broadcast. A massive tsunami has occurred on the Pacific coast, causing devastating damage to multiple coastal cities. My heart sank. The heavily affected areas mentioned in the news included the city where Mom and Dad lived. In the pictures, giant waves swallowed everything, and cries for help were endless. Because of the tsunami, the prison was also affected, and many prisoners tried to escape in the chaos. The news report mentioned that Victoria and my adoptive parents had suffered misfortune in the chaos. Even though I had grudges with them, in the face of natural disasters, I still felt heartbroken sadness. With trembling hands, I opened the address book, found that almost forgotten number, and edited a message. Are you okay? Just as my finger was about to press the send button, a new message popped up first. It was from Mom. Ilara, the tsunami is here. We may not be able to escape. Now Mom truly understands the despair and fear you felt when you were adrift at sea. This is probably our retribution. Thousands of words cannot express our guilt. We only ask you to forget us, forget the past hurts, and live well. Ilara, Mom and Dad. Love you. As soon as I finished reading the message, static came over the radio, followed by the reporter's excited voice. The rescue team has found signs of life under the ruins of Tomorrow Community. My heart leaped. Seconds later, A rescue worker's heavy voice came from the chaotic scene. No signs of life. The host choked as he announced that 2 more names had been added to the list of the dead. A few days later, Mom and Dad's lawyer found me and said that they had left all their remaining assets to me in their will. I held that heavy bank card and ultimately donated the entire sum to the Disaster Area Reconstruction Fund. Consider it accumulating some good karma on their behalf. Later, during the endless polar day and night in the Arctic, I met him, a kindred spirit. With the blessings of my godmother and all the station comrades, we held a simple but warm wedding. After that, we had a daughter who was as radiant as the Arctic sun. I gave her all the unconditional love I had never received myself. The little one often wraps her arms around my neck and says in a soft, sweet voice, "Mommy, I love you the most. Love you forever and ever." Every time I hear that, my eyes can't help but well up with tears. The first half of my life was turbulent, and I experienced the full spectrum of human emotions. Fortunately, in the latter half, I met my true love. They used patience, respect, and unconditional love to slowly smooth out the wrinkles in my heart, gently raising that insecure, sensitive Alara all over again. In a daze, I had a dream. In the dream, I returned to that cold sea, and I saw myself clinging to the wreckage, alone, helpless, yet still desperately grasping at a sliver of hope. I gently walked over, squatted down, and said in her ear, tenderly and firmly, "Don't be afraid, I love you." I love that brave Alara, who never gave up on herself, even in the face of despair.